Okay, everybody, I show that it is 2 o'clock. So we will get started. Thank you and for joining us this afternoon. My name is Paul Ura. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio. And this will be our 2 p.m. briefing today on our winter event. Kind of what's changed over the past 24 hours. We've extended some of the warnings and the advisories. Much bigger areas now being affected by ice. And then some of the ice totals are going up just a tad, just because of the ice that we've already had, and then the ice that we're actually kind of expecting. So the next briefing will also be tomorrow, and then we're kind of on the fence on whether or not we're going to need one on Thursday, but if need be, we will. But as of right now, tomorrow we'll have another 2 p.m. briefing. So our key messages. Obviously, we're having a significant icing event across much of South Central Texas, and if you haven't been watching the news, the icing event stretches well into North and Northwest Texas. So it's a very large area of Texas that is actually being affected by this ice storm. The winter storm warning remains in effect for the Hill Country, the northern 2/3 of our jurisdiction, which is South Central Texas. We extended that now through 6 a.m. on Wednesday. I'm sorry, that's 6 a.m. on Thursday. I need to correct that. The ice accumulations are 1/4 to 3/4 inch, the highest totals basically still over the Hill Country from what we expect. Some areas may not rise above freezing until mid-morning on Thursday. Travel is still going to be very, very dangerous all the way through Thursday morning. And the biggest message right now in bold there and in all caps, stay home, stay off the roads. We're hearing that from multiple people, and that is the best advice right now. We are also starting to see some scattered power outages across our region as well. On the far left, there is our warning map, and you can kind of see in the pink, those are all winter storm warnings. So you can see it's not just our South Central Texas area. It goes well into West Texas, Northwest Texas, and then even across the Red River into Oklahoma. So much of the northern half of the state is being affected by this, and it's still primarily the high pressure that's coming in from the north at the surface with the really, really cold air. What you can't see on the map is the upper level low pressure area, or the upper level disturbance, which is going to be coming across from the Baja region of Mexico. It's going to be moving east, and it's going to be coming across the state. So basically later today, tomorrow, and then exiting finally on Thursday. So that's going to be the big rainmaker, or the freezing rainmaker, is actually going to be that system that you can't see on the map, which is in the upper levels. This is a screen capture of some of the current temperatures. You can kind of see almost our jurisdiction is almost divided in half, where basically a line almost south of Highway 90 out west through San Antonio, and then almost along Interstate 10. Anything south of that is primarily above freezing, and everything north of that with that dashed blue line there is actually below freezing. So those will primarily be the areas of below freezing that we're still going to be having the ice problems. Some pockets of some possible ice around this dashed line, but that would probably be mainly tonight as the temperatures drop below freezing in much of the area. Here's a current image of the radar. Actually fairly quiet across our region. Parts of Austin, Travis County, and Williamson County up here still getting some precipitation, but the rest of the area is actually fairly dry with just a few little scattered pockets of maybe some light rain or drizzle. The bigger precipitation area is well off to our west, and that's kind of what's to come for us overnight, as this larger area of light rain, which is now freezing rain and possibly even some sleet, kind of spreads across the region from west to east overnight. This is a current map of the weather advisories that we have, and then also the winter weather warnings that we have in pink. Again, that is through 6 a.m. on Thursday. We did extend that all the way through 6 a.m. Thursday morning. There still could be some adjustments to that, especially if we warm up significantly in some areas tomorrow, and then the temperatures possibly look like they could stay above freezing in some regions. Maybe we'll be able to adjust that some more. But as of right now, this is where it stands through 6 a.m. So again, much of our jurisdiction, or our county warning area, including the big metropolitan areas of San Antonio and Austin and the I-35 corridor. We've increased the impacts for the power outages, and also increased the threat level for the freezing rain and travel impacts, as this whole ice storm, if you will, is kind of lasting a little bit longer than what we had initially had anticipated. So this image here for the forecast freezing rain and ice accumulation map is what additional ice is expected, not what is already on the ground. So when you see there in the red colors of, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch or a 1/2 inch up to 3/4 inch, that could be in addition to what is already on the trees, the fences, and on some of the bridges, etc. So as you can see, significant amounts when you add it all up. There could be some areas when all said and done, could be almost near an inch of ice, especially in some of those areas in the hill country. The travel impacts are actually going to be increasing today and becoming widespread tonight as that additional batch of precipitation comes across. That will lead, of course, to very, very dangerous travel conditions, to where some areas may be near impossible sort of travel, especially off to the west and northwest and deeper into the hill country. Again, best advice is stay at home. We should, and we have been seeing a few little scattered power outages here and there, but as that ice accumulates on the trees, the branches, and the power lines, that will tend to start to domino affect some of the power issues. And of course, some of the best websites to kind of go to, drivetexas.org to see the road conditions, to see what roads are icy. And as you can imagine, the map for Texas, a lot of closed roads, a lot of impacted roads, especially as you head north of the hill country, north of the Austin area as you get into Dallas-Fort Worth, San Angelo's area, etc. Additional accumulations you can kind of see on the map there. The hill country, the Austin area, anywhere from 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of additional ice. Some pockets of 3/4 inch additional ice is possible. For the San Antonio area, what we kind of thought yesterday has still been kind of looking pretty good on track, to where the northern half of Bexar County, especially north of Loop 410, is where we would where we should be probably getting some higher amounts of ice accumulation. South of that, into the middle part of the city southward, would be the lower amounts. Bexar County and San Antonio area is under a winter storm warning, so we can get accumulating ice. And as of right now, that's primarily been on the northern half of the county in the higher terrain areas. For the advisory areas, which is basically along Highway 90 and then also the coastal plains of Texas here, primarily a glaze of ice is possible, and also primarily less than 1/10 of an inch. For the low temperatures tonight, everybody, especially in the warning and advisory areas, are primarily going to be around or just below freezing. Maybe the middle part of San Antonio may be the exception. And of course, the areas along the Rio Grande would be an exception as well. But again, main messaging is the 4 Ps, the people, pets, pipes, and plants, and then also discouraging any sort of travel out there at all. Tomorrow, as we get into Wednesday, hill country, still likely below freezing. Elsewhere, we could get a couple of hours, especially like along Interstate 35, a couple of hours where we actually get above freezing, okay? So that would obviously improve some road conditions. The hill country, again, will likely stay below, so that's where your worst travel conditions are actually going to be. And one of the waves, the upper level waves, is actually going to be coming across, and so our greatest concern for additional ice is actually going to be late tonight into the first part of Wednesday tomorrow. So if you're kind of looking at a time of like, where is there going to be a larger area of additional ice accumulation, probably late tonight into first part of tomorrow. And then looking even further ahead into the low temperatures Thursday morning, again, hill country, northern area still hanging just below freezing. The rest of the area should be above freezing. And as the system kind of exits the area and the cold air starts to modify and the rain and the freezing rain goes off to the northeast, most everybody should be above freezing then by Thursday afternoon. And that's when some of the melting of the ice should pretty much start to take place. So again, main takeaways: dangerous winter storm is ongoing. The conditions are only going to get worse tonight through Wednesday morning as that next batch of freezing rain and possibly even some sleet showers comes across the region. Area still seeing significant accumulations of ice, especially tonight and early part of tomorrow. Over 1/2 inch is possible, and that is going to remain on the ground probably at least through early Thursday before it starts to melt in many areas. A side note, north winds still of 10 to 20 miles an hour, and so that brings wind chills down into about the teens. One thing that we want to pass along to folks, and we've seen this encouraged from especially some of the fire departments that have dealt with even some fatalities up in Austin, as folks get into traffic accidents, they've been coming out of their cars. That's the most dangerous thing you can do. Then it becomes a pedestrian fatality as these multi-car accidents have been happening. So the best advice was to have motorists not get out of their vehicles if involved in a collision on the ice. The safest place is actually to stay in your car until the first responders arrive. So if you guys can push those messages out, hopefully we'll save some lives there. A few other items real quick. I showed these yesterday. If you didn't, if you were not on the webinar yesterday, the weather.gov/forecast points, a great website where you can get hourly forecast information wherever you click on the map. It's a really, really simple website to navigate. I highly suggest following that, as well as the Texas Mesonet website, a great kind of a situational awareness website if you want to put it up on a big monitor in your EOC, where you can actually have radar overlaid with the watches and the warnings, as well as temperatures, etc. So those are just a couple of websites. And again, the plan is, as of right now, to go ahead and make slides of all of this. A PDF, I'll send that out. This is actually being recorded right now as well. So that will actually get listed as a YouTube link about an hour or so after this ends. So with that, we are gonna be able to ask some questions. There's a chat feature there. If you want to type in the questions, I already have a couple coming in, and I'll kind of go through here and see what we have. So, yeah, like again, we're going to have someone was asking about the summary page, and all that is going to go out as far as slides and the PDF, so that'll be taken care of. Bryce, what time for the light rain to arrive in Guadalupe County? I mean, there's some light rain out there right now. I think the majority of everything will actually start later tonight. Let me kind of see real quick if I can get a website up, and I can double check for you real quick. Stand by, Bryce. Yeah, the chance of rain significantly kind of goes up overnight, and then in particularly the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. So it will be a gradual increase. There's not like a big front coming in. It's just going to be a gradual kind of filling in of all the precipitation coming in. So it's the best thing is that if you're getting dry weather right now, it'll get worse as the day progresses, and especially overnight into the first part of Wednesday is when that new batch of rain is going to be coming across. How are the wind chills going to affect the elevated surfaces? Technically, they don't. The wind chill really only affects humans, animals, etc. So it's not going to be affecting anything when it comes to whether or not it's going to freeze something. That is all purely on air temperature. We do tend to get most of the ice accumulating on mid to upper 20s. As soon as you start getting into that 30 to 32 range, especially the roads tend to stay mainly wet. In the areas that have been around 30 to 32 all day today, we've been primarily seeing issues with the actual bridges and the overpasses, which again freeze at 32. So if we start dropping down to some temperatures well into the mid 20s again across the region, the ice will just continue to accumulate pretty rapidly. Okay, let's see what else we have coming in here. How many hours above freezing do you think southern portions of Williamson County may be tomorrow? Stand by and let me look. Let's see here. Best bet, Cherie, is, we'll be hanging around that 32 to 33, 34 mark, somewhere between probably 1 p.m. to maybe 7 or 8 p.m. by our guidance right now. So you could have several hours of it. Now, whether or not that's going to allow for any significant sort of melting is kind of still on the edge there, because we're not talking about warming up to like the 40s or anything. It'll be borderline warming above freezing, but you could get several hours there, mid to late afternoon especially. Is the time for all the heavier precipitation in San Antonio metro begin after midnight? I would say yes, primarily. Again, most of the models are kind of showing a gradual increase in precipitation overnight, but I think the overnight hours, I know that's a general term, but overnight hours into the first part of Wednesday would be when the best chances of rain and the heavier precipitation be coming across the region. Do you expect some melting in Austin tomorrow, or do you expect continued ice accumulation? Some of that will depend on where you're talking about in Austin. East side of Austin, you may be hugging in that 34 to 35 range in the afternoon, but if you're out in the higher elevation of West Austin, you may be hovering right at freezing or slightly below. So again, you could have a couple of hours at least, but will it be significant enough to get rid of all the ice? Kind of unknown at this point. Okay, let's see, took care of that one. Please show the websites I can go to for the current info. I will go backwards. This is one of, I think, the best website where you guys can get the hourly forecast information right from our forecast database. So I'm going to leave that one up for you guys. Do you think we'll see much above temp in Kendall County tomorrow? Jeff, that's going to be dicey. Your area around Bernie and especially tends to be very, very cold. It's one of the higher elevations that we actually have. And as far as our official forecast goes, I am showing, again, maybe a 33, 34 for a couple of hours in the late afternoon, but it won't be significant, Jeff, if you do. Are we getting a reinforcing shot of cold air tonight, or is it just the storm system moving overhead? Yeah, what's basically going to be happening, we're not getting any sort of additional Arctic front tonight or anything, but as the system kind of pushes across and you have more clouds, we're going to have a little bit of increase of a north wind also, and that'll just, it'll keep what's in North Texas coming down over us, if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, no additional big gigantic surge of colder air, kind of status quo of what we've had the last couple of days. And another question about Shirts and Cibolo again, when is it going to start warming and going above freezing? It's going to be the same from what I've described for some of the other areas. It's going to be that mid to late afternoon. If there is going to be some areas that get above freezing tomorrow, it'll probably be during that time frame. There's no magic time on the clock that says as soon as we get to that time it's going to be above freezing. It's too difficult to determine. But our best shot is yeah, there's going to be some areas there that are hovering right above freezing, probably in the late to mid-afternoon hours there. When will northern Hays County be above freezing? Thursday a.m. Wimberley to Dripping Springs. Okay, using that forecast database website that I have advertised up there. Let me just do some clicking here in West Hays County and kind of see what we have. And we were asking about Thursday. I know a lot of people are kind of wondering for the school aspect on Thursday. And so I think in most of those areas, still probably hovering around freezing for that morning commute, and then should get at least well into the 40s by Thursday afternoon. So the morning still looks dicey. If we're off by a degree or two, we're still below freezing. If we're above, if we're in that 33, 34 mark, maybe everything is already liquid by Thursday morning, but it's too hard to tell. So it's still borderline on how many areas are going to be below freezing come Thursday morning. Definitely probably out deeper into the hill country, but as you get closer to Interstate 35, it's plausible that we could be right hovering around freezing and still dealing with ice issues as early as Thursday morning still. Okay, looks like questions have kind of come to an end so far. So I'll give it about 30 more seconds here, see if anybody has any additional questions. And yes, Jeff, I'll give you a call after this. We can talk. Oh, can you put up the second website? Yes, texasmesonet.org. There you go, Dr. Garcia. I appreciate that. And there's a bunch of other websites out there. These are ones that are kind of one-stop shopping websites like that. So it could be that too, that on the email that I send out to everybody, I may have just a couple of quick links on the very, very bottom to just have some of these websites and even an internal website that that you may find useful if you're an emergency manager, and push that out as well. So again, look for the slides and look for a recording probably within the hour to your email. And with that, we will go ahead and end the webinar. Again, thank you so much. We will plan on doing this again tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So take care, everybody, and be safe.